Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Splittin Uprights. This week, we begin our series where we're previewing divisions in the NFL. We're going to take it division by division, looking ahead to the biggest storylines, over-unders, and such. We're going to start out with one division from each conference. So this week, we'll go AFC West and NFC West since, they're both in the West. And coincidentally, they both happen to have the Super Bowl participants from last year, the Chiefs and the 49ers. That was purely coincidental. We didn't pick it that way, but regardless, we move on. So we're going to start with the AFC West. You can't really see us right now, but Drew Smith just happens to be wearing a Travis Kelce jersey. So we're going to start in the AFC West. But before we do that, we're going to pass it around and check on the boys, see how they're doing. We're going to start with you, Pookie, down in the bottom part of my screen. What's up, man?
What's up, guys? I'm chiseled and grizzled, and I'm here to give you hot pancakes. Hot takes.
That's true. He did just get back from the gym. And the man with the extravagant Chiefs jersey, Drew Smith. How are we doing?
I'm doing good, man. Just chilling. Ready for this 3-day weekend.
Dude, no kidding. All right. We're going with the AFC West. We're starting with the Chiefs. Drew, we are using the recently posted over-under win totals by USA Today. They have the Chiefs at 11.5 over-under. So you get first take on this.
Yeah, I'm definitely slamming the over. Looking at their schedule, Baltimore is a tough game, and at Tampa Bay is a tough game, and at New Orleans. I mean, they have 3 tough road games, but those are the only 3 games I see them losing this year. So that puts them at 13-3 in my opinion. And, they're going to want to try to repeat because it hasn't been done in a while. And I think they have the weapons. They pretty much brought back their entire team from last year. I don't see them not at least being in contention for that first round bye this year, being the only team in the AFC to get it because of the new rules. So I'm slamming the over for them.
Dude, if the Chiefs don't get a first-round bye, I would shit my pants. Like, how –
I would shit your pants too.
So I think when it comes to the Chiefs, we all have the same question mark, which really is – so the linebacking core isn't great, but they found a way around that last year. I think we all agree the question is simply, can they repeat? It's been a difficult task to do as of late. We haven't seen really any teams repeat. We've seen some get back to the Super Bowl, only then to fail. So, it's tough. But as far as a roster goes, you keep that offense intact for the most part. So, I don't have any blaring question marks for the Chiefs. Pookie, do you?
Like I said, or like you said, the linebacking core is a concern, but the Chiefs showed last year that they can overcome that. They're still the fastest team in football. You can't really compete with speed. No matter how good your scheme is, you can't compete with that sort of speed that Kansas City has going on. Speaking
of speed, we're going to move on. And not the drug. No one here is on speed. We're going to move on to the Las Vegas Raiders and with their newly acquired wide receiver, Henry Ruggs, who is fast as hell. And you don't need to be around him to know that. But, Pookie, we're going to let you get first word on the Raiders. They're under win total is at 7.5. Initial thoughts on that?
The Raiders are an interesting team, I think, to talk about because they have John Gruden, who is one of my favorite coaches, really good and smart football IQ. So I see them probably squeezing out some wins that they shouldn't have in a couple of upsets. But I will say that they're probably only going to make it to above the 7.5, probably an 8-win total this year because they could easily start 1-5. They play, the Panthers. That could be a win. But then they have New Orleans, New England, Buffalo, and Kansas City. And then Tampa Bay. So it's like you're facing off against some of the previous playoff teams from last year. They could easily come out of that 1-5. So it's hard to see them going much further. But I do love the way that they're building this roster. They went and got Henry Ruggs, gave Derek Carr some weapons. And even though they may not have the look of a playoff team, if you see them make a late season surge, don't be surprised.
Drew, question marks for the Raiders?
I think when it comes to the Raiders, obviously the same question as last year. It all comes down to Derek Carr. how good of a quarterback really is he. There was a ton of talks this year of Tom Brady maybe going there, then drafting a quarterback even. So I think when it comes to their question, it's really just falls on the shoulder of Derek Carr and whether he's able to produce and get them to where they need to go. But I think having a running back like Josh Jacobs, I mean, that dude he was one of the best running backs last year, and he didn't even play the full year.
No, it's exciting for the Raiders. I think in terms of when you speak of Josh Jacobs, I loved watching him run last year, and it sucked that he was injured for the last few games because he was probably going to get the rushing crown.
Yeah, and he might have won Rookie of the Year as well. He was in contention for both of them.
Mm-hmm. But with the Raiders, you have you have one of the top centers in the game in Rodney Hudson with the Laguna Beach bully and Richie Incognito at left guard. You're talking about the guys who ranked top of their position in terms of run blocking grade, I believe, in the league. So John Gruden, man, we're just going to keep pounding that ball, and when they stack the box, we're going to throw it deep to Henry Ruggs and Tyrell Williams and company. So, I mean, the Raiders are interesting to me. I'm very excited, but perhaps the question I'm most asking myself right now at this time is, how fucking sexy will that television look on TV, baby? Or did I say stadium? I said television. I meant stadium.
Yeah, stadium. Yeah.
How sexy will that stadium look?
So they're gonna have a TV podcast of a TV with the game on it.
Yeah, man. That's the way to watch football nowadays. And it's like dudes watch dudes playing video games, so we might as well watch other dudes watching football. It's like being a cuck.
Don't make fun of me like.
That was left at Pookie, but very excited to see. The Raiders have how many primetime games this year? Don't they have like 5?
I mean, that Raiders-Bucks game for me will be very interesting because you have Gruden playing against Tampa, his team that he went to and eventually won a Super Bowl with. But they have a game against Tampa in Las Vegas. They play against the Saints in Las Vegas. They play against the Chiefs in Las Vegas, and then they play against the Chargers in Las Vegas, all primetime. So they have 4 primetime games.
It's probably because of Vegas, honestly. Like,
yeah,
you're trying to get that, but I love it. I love seeing the Raiders on TV. Same with you, Drew. Derek Carr a few years ago was having an MVP-type season. Probably does win the MVP if it wasn't for that nasty injury he took. So, very curious. But, all right. I've been saving this team. I was high on them 2 weeks ago when we started talking about them. Let's get to the Denver Broncos. Drew, over-under win total at 7.5. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, I'm taking the over on that one, baby. I love what they've done with the skill positions, but that's not my place to say. It's your turn, so let's get it.
Yeah. So this in the previous episode we had, I said that this division has a chance to go 3 teams in the playoffs. And I do believe that, but I also think that they're all 3 going to be under. So I have them going 7 wins. If they're going over, just like Pookie said about the Raiders, they're going 8 to 9. I just believe that they have so much young guys at their offensive positions, like the skill positions, that I don't think they're going to be able to do it this year. They lost veteran guys on defense like Derek Wolfe and Chris Harris. They still have a great defense. I think their offense is a couple years away, but I think they're going to be a competitive team every week. They're going to be a tough team to lose. That's going to be a hard out every week. So I see them winning probably 7 games this year.
I'm very excited to see what that defensive line does with seeing Bradley Chubb can make another step forward. Obviously, you have one of the greatest pass rushers of all time with Von Miller. You get Jarrell Casey in there to plug up the middle. So I don't know how that helps you with the Chiefs per se, when a team that's going to spread you out. But when you're playing the Raiders and you got to stop Josh Jacobs from running on you, Jarrell Casey's going to come in handy. So, and then you go out and you get you let Chris Harris walk, but you get AJ Bouye coming in as well. So, I mean, John Elway used to get a ton of crap for the way he ran the Broncos, but I love the way he's drafted recently with giving Drew Lock every weapon he needs to succeed, but also letting a big money guy like Chris Harris walk. And I bring in AJ Bouye, who at one time was a big money guy, Jarrell Casey. So I've got all pro caliber players coming in. I get 2 for the price of 1 almost, well, in a sense. So I like the Broncos as a sneaky playoff team this year. I don't know how many wins over. If I say they're taking the over, so at 8 wins or more, I don't know how many more they get. But I'm excited. I think Drew Lock's going to get a chance to succeed this year. You can't say that about many young quarterbacks. So I want to see what next step he takes. But, all right. Now we move on to the Chargers, Pookie.
Well, I was going to say something about the Broncos, and
Let's go.
My concern is about Drew Lock. I think that they have surrounded him with some weapons, and he does have Bradley Chubb and Von Miller on defense. But if you look at his statistics, he only had 1 game over 300 passing yards last year, and the other ones were 177, 192, 208, 309, and 134. And even though he didn't turn the ball over a whole lot, those numbers aren't necessarily enough, I don't think, are worth the hype around Drew Lock. I like him as a prospect, and I think he has a lot of room to grow. He could prove me wrong, but I'm still not completely sold on him as a dominant quarterback next season. But definitely you'll see a lot of development from him.
Yeah, I don't mean to make him sound like he's going to be a dominant quarterback. My only question is, he's finally got – so last year he had Cortland Sutton and Noah Fant to throw to. And this year I give him Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler as well. You got some speed. And Phillip Lindsay can give you some options out of the backfield. And we didn't even talk about this really, Drew. You and I were talking about this before the show, but you also add Melvin Gordon to the mix. So my question as far as Melvin Gordon goes is I get a guy $16 million over 2 years. So now he's splitting carries with Phillip Lindsay. Phillip Lindsay cracked the NFL top 100 and has been very productive. Does adding Melvin Gordon take away production from Phillip Lindsay? Does it hurt him in that sense? Is a question I would have. Is spending $16 million on Melvin Gordon worth it when I've got a guy producing like Phillip Lindsay? Those are some of the questions I have. But, Drew, I know we were thinking about this earlier, and I thought maybe you'd want to share an opinion on this.
Yeah, I mean, you even have to add Royce Freeman in there too, because last year him and Lindsay were sharing the backfield as well. So I almost think it's a 3 running back committee there. I think Melvin Gordon is definitely the top dog there because he has produced at a very high level in LA or like San Diego, LA with the Chargers. But if I'm the Broncos, I think they're going to lean heavy on the running backs with Lindsay and Gordon, even Freeman, and then allow them to, just like you said with the Raiders, make people come into the box and then have Drew Lock be able to dump it off to the receivers as well. So I think it's a whole committee there. I don't think it's all going to be on Drew Lock's shoulders from day one. I think it's going to be let's pound the ball, let's let our defense win us games, just like with Peyton back in the day.
That's interesting, considering that receiving talent they got, but that very well may be the case. So now we move on to the Chargers, and we talked about offseason acquisitions with the past 2 teams. Pookie, I think the biggest offseason change that any team in the league, maybe short of the Packers moving with Jordan Love, moving in with Aaron Rodgers, the best offseason acquisition has got to be the Chargers' new uniforms.
And those uniforms are sick. I love the powder blue, everything about it. I'm a uniform junkie, and when it comes to what San Diego did with those uniforms, you can't look past them.
You just did, because you called them San Diego. You just – it's okay. It's not as bad as a mistake I made earlier. But, Pookie, they have the Chargers at 7.5. So here's my thing with the Chargers, and I mentioned this on a previous episode. There's a lot of Chargers hate out there. In fact, I think Pro Football Focus had the Chargers as the team most likely to get next year's number 1 pick. Now, USA Today has them at 7.5 over-under win total, so they're not disrespecting them that much like Pro Football Focus did. But so many people seem to be down on the Chargers this year when I've got amazing talent on defense. I've got a solid skill position group on offense. So where do you stand on the Chargers?
I think this team is going to grow a lot over the next couple of years, but they do have a rookie quarterback, Justin Herbert, and I can't, peg him to take them to the playoffs this year. Now, do I think he's going to improve their win total? Most assuredly so. I don't think they're going to be in line for the number 1 pick. but I don't see them getting past 5 or 6 wins just because they're so young and they have a lot of time that they need to do a lot of time they need to grow. They have Casey Hayward, I think, on cornerback on defense. They have Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa. So that's a solid core going there, and you can't underestimate Bosa. He's been dominant whenever he's been on the field when he can stay healthy. So
Derwin James in the safety too in the secondary.
James, one of the best safeties in the league. So it's like they have a lot of talent. I just don't know that it's going to be this year that they show it's their year. I think that this is going to be a growing season when Justin Herbert's learning under Anthony Lynn.
Hey, don't forget, they got Kenneth Murray in the draft, and you had Linval Joseph in the interior line. So
I was just gonna say that I actually think the Chargers actually probably have the best chance to go over the 7.5 wins if healthy. That's the biggest thing for them. They haven't been a very healthy team the last couple of years. I think that's why they were down when they had that one 2 years ago when they were, I don't know the record, but when they had a good season, made it to the playoffs. I think Derwin James's rookie year, they were healthy the entire year. I mean, their defense, Linville Jones, you have Jerry Tillery, you have Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, you have Drew Tranquill, you have Kenneth Murray, Casey Hayward. They just signed Chris Harris Jr., as well as having Desmond King at the other quarterback position with Derwin James and Nasir Adderley. Like, their defense is stacked. The biggest thing is they have to stay healthy. If they do that, and Tyrod's a winnable quarterback. He took the Bills to the playoffs once. He's a competent quarterback. He's just not an elite quarterback.
I'm with you, Drew. I actually think Tyrod Taylor starts week 1. I don't know what their plans are as far as, do I want to get Justin Herbert playing this year? Is it better if he sits a year? What also would factor into that discussion is, where is Anthony Lynn's job status at? Is there a number where he's on the hot seat? Because they had a good year 2 years ago. Last year, you had injuries, but you're also like, I don't know what's going on in Los Angeles. Not sure if I like it. So I think this is a year for Anthony Lynn. Is going to have to win a few games here. So I don't know what he thinks gives him his best chance to win. I'm very curious, but I think Tyrod Taylor is the safest bet right now. Just to start the season with that veteran presence. Wouldn't be surprised if they pull the trigger. You see a lot of rookie quarterbacks coming about week 8, week 9. So
yeah, I think within their division too, they have, with the Raiders and the Broncos, I think the Chiefs are going to go 6-0 against them. So, they're going to lose 2 games to the Chiefs, but I think the other 2 are very winnable games. They have 4 opportunities to get at least 4 wins against division opponents, and then they play the AFC East as well. Those are three of those 4 games are probably easy wins or easier wins. So I think they have a real chance to make a run here. It just depends on, again, if they really stay healthy, because I think they have a really good defense that has stayed intact, and they added, and all they have to do on offense is continue to produce.
Quick shout out to 2 Central Arkansas boys, Hunter Henry and KJ Hill. KJ being from Pookie's in my high school, so played with KJ, had a locker next to him. Pookie knew him pretty well too, so had to get that one out there. Drew, I agree. On paper, the Chargers defense is freaking scary. I think they match up with the Chiefs in certain areas. I think getting Chris Harris, the best slot cornerback in the game, helps you out with that receiving core of the Chiefs. Linval Joseph hopefully can return to form of old and can plug up the middle against, the Raiders and other teams. So I think on paper they match up really well, but the question is, it's like last year they had a good roster. Why didn't it work? So the question is this year is, can they
Listen, man, I'm going to debunk this right now. With the new jerseys, you look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good. You play good, they pay good.
Hey, let me tell you something, motherfuckers. If it was up to jerseys, this team is 19-0, no doubt, best team in the history of the NFL.
Yes, sir.
No doubt. And I'm not afraid to say that over the 2009 Patriots.
That one's going in the archives.
All right, so now that we've looked at each team, let's go ahead and take a step back, look at the big picture. I think all of us for sure think the Chiefs are not only a lock to be in the playoffs, but most of us would be surprised if the they're my favorites to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl again. Just beating out the Patriots. So you gotta throw that in there while I still can, man. Before they lose, they go 0-16. Gotta keep the pride. But Pookie, we'll start with you. Of the other three teams, best chance for who to get in the playoffs?
You know, I do like the Raiders. I think they're a dark horse candidate to make the playoffs, but the most likely I would say is the Broncos. They added a lot of good pieces, and if they do take a trajectory upwards, I think it's not unreasonable for them to be a playoff team.
Drew?
I mean, I'm going to go with the Chargers. I just kind of talked about it a little bit, but I think, again, and this is all on the basis on if they stay healthy. And if they stay healthy, I think they have a real chance to make a run there.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, that'll do it for the AFC West.